Welcome, everybody, to another edition of The Dynasty. It's a podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. We want you to be a part of it. TheDynastyBama.com is the hub where you can find out all of the different platforms where we're available, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, but also at The Dynasty Bama is where you can interact with us, rate, review, share across social media as well. I'm Chris Stewart, AJ McCarron, Trent Richardson, the two Crimson Tide greats, multi-year national champions for them both. Today, we're talking with Mark Gottfried, the former Alabama player and head basketball coach for the Crimson Tide, a long career, a ton of NCAA tournament appearances during his time, Elite Eight as a coach, 3 straight Sweet 16s as a player, but obviously one of the top stories in all of sports, not just college athletics, but the battle basically back and forth between the University of Alabama and the NCAA on the eligibility of Charles Bediako. We get Mark's thoughts on this and where college basketball and college athletics as a whole, where they're headed. So look forward to talking about that. Also, we're going to dive into the news that the CFP is indeed staying at 12 teams, at least for now. But guys, off the top, we're going to talk about the latest for Alabama football and what's happening in the transfer portal. Not exactly household names, but that's also sometimes all right. 4 and 5 stars are the way that we're accustomed to, but sometimes you got to find guys that fit. And apparently, Kalen DeBoer feels like a 6'5", 320-pounder who's been at Starkville for the last year or two, fits that. Javen James, an offensive tackle, started at Akron, spent 2 years there before going to Mississippi State. Prior to last year, had 12 starts for the Dogs, 9 of those coming at left tackle. Only gave up 3 sacks on the year. He's going to have 2 years of eligibility remaining. First of all, any thoughts you guys have on Javen James in particular, but also kind of where things are moving? And I buried the lead on this. You got a new offensive line coach. Coach Cap is out at the University of Alabama, and Bama's moving on from him. Reports that a guy from USC may be coming in. We'll see how that all plays out. But just your initial thoughts, guys, on the pickup, but also the departure of Coach Cap from Alabama.
He needed the change. Something had to happen. I mean, I don't. Hell, I'm all out of ideas right now.
You got your own stallions team to worry about. You're trying to figure out your own roster.
I'm to the point of DJ Fluker, Andre Smith.
Yep.
Chance
That's
Warmack.
at Miles College right now.
No, I'm thinking just we file another lawsuit and we just go back and play a year.
It worked for
hell,
basketball.
Everybody else is winning a lawsuit. I might as well just throw my name in there too.
Come on.
But we'll just figure out if those guys can still play. If they can play 1 year, we'll sign them. Just give them all the money and rev share, NIL, and we'll get back to having the O-line the way it needs to be. But Javen's, what'd you say, Javen James?
Yeah.
From Mississippi State, played left tackle. I mean, I hope he's a great player for us. Listen, when I watched, and this isn't a knock on him, when I watched Mississippi State this past year, they struggled to protect the quarterback. And that's not always the player that, like I said, it can be the scheme, the technique from the coach. Coaching can fix a lot of issues when it comes to that. So I think that's why Alabama needed a change. The fact that you couldn't run the football, you weren't a very intense and aggressive O-line in setting the tone in games. So a change needed to happen, and we'll see if this analyst from USC is able to, if he comes to Bama and makes a change, I guess only time will tell.
Trent, your thoughts?
I kind of agree. Well, I ain't gonna say kind of. I do agree. It was definitely time for a change. I -3 rushing yards at Alabama. That's like I just can't get over that. Like I'm out of ideas too. Unless you go try to go get a big Chris Samuels or Andre Smith, which is at Miles College right now. Go talk to those guys. Like I keep saying this, man. Go talk to Jeff Stoutland. Go talk to Coach Pendrix about guys that they taught, guys that they know that's available, and is willing to come and take the challenge. And it's a lot of people is not ready to take that challenge. They're scared of it. I get it. But for me, I would definitely love to stay in the SEC with it. That somebody has really experienced it. And that's no knock on anybody else from anywhere else, but it's tough sledding all year for those 9 games that we have now or, 10 games with the SEC championship. Like, I don't know, I know we got the 12, games now. I don't know if they, we still going to the 9 games with SEC because they switching up stuff every day now.
Yeah, you'll still have 10 games and 9 in conference.
That's crazy.
Isn't that right, Steve?
Yeah, that's right. Nine conference games starting next season.
Yeah.
Steve Gorgie, our producer, does a great job. He's in charge of facts. We talk in theory. He talks in facts for us, so we appreciate him jumping in and providing those when we need them, which is often. But, guys, does adding a guy 6'5", 320, does that Coach Saban, not that he didn't have some guys that size, I guess, but he basically had a formula of height, weight for just about every position. And very seldom after he got things established, did you see him vary from that at all? Is this just going out trying to find the best you can, the best player at the positions you can? Or do you think this is maybe a little bit of a shift for what Kalen DeBoer wants, and maybe he wants bigger linemen, guys that are bigger up front? Because we had some guys that we know were really good on the offensive line. But at the same time, you guys have already talked about the numbers. They weren't very productive. They were far from it definitely in the run game. And the reality is we didn't give a chance to stretch the field a ton in the passing game, not in the deep ball anyway. Didn't have a ton of time to be able to throw it. So do you think this is trying to find the best personnel, or does it signal a shift in terms of what they think that can look like for their O-line?
I mean, I think at this point you're scrambling a little bit just because, I mean, you just got to try to find, whoever has played and can play. I think you look at the portal, and any team that's been high on somebody or really wanted somebody, they've already had those guys commit to them. I think now dudes still left in the portal. Now you're kind of scrambling to find leftovers in a way, with the portal being closed.
Yeah.
And then, I hate to say it, it happens. People are getting tampered with each and every day. But another way you get around this portal deal, I don't think people realize, is you talk to these kids, get them to unenroll from their school, drop all their classes, get out, and then enroll into your school. There's your second portal window, which can happen, is happening, and you can do it. So even if somebody's committed and you like somebody, there's no rules against it. I don't care. They say, oh, you can't tamper.
Yeah.
There's so many people tampering.
Oh,
so push
about
the limits.
Dabo Swinney calling out Pete Golding.
Yeah,
push
the limits
this past weekend.
What's going to happen? There's no rules being set. I would go out I'm openly saying this. I would tamper because it's not
Ain't
considered
nobody
tampering.
surprised by that.
Yeah, it's not considered tampering unless there's a ruling against it and you get caught. But
Yeah.
I would find a way for dudes if they're already committed, they're already somewhere, and you like them as a player, and you want them, go tamper with them, and tell them, say, hey, drop all your classes, unenroll, and come and enroll in here. There's your second portal window. That's how you fix it because it's a loophole right now.
Trent, it seems like a lot of our show today is going to deal with not skirting the rules necessarily, but challenging the rules and blowing up what is the NCAA because it's already gotten beyond what they can manage. But these are all things that I think that between the basketball, what's happened with Charles Bediako, which was not the first situation, despite the fact it's getting the conversation it is because it's within the state and because it's within the season. But it's far from the first time it's happened in basketball. And the stuff with football is every bit as crazier, which leads it seems like it's leading towards another step towards the separation of at least the power programs splitting from the NCAA because the NCAA will have no chance to govern because they're too busy in court.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, NCAA is not powerful when it comes to the courts. Like, they have really no say so. So it's like, why won't you challenge the rules? Like, why won't I, tamper a little bit? I know back in the day they was, strict on, certain stuff, but, it was all type of BCS with it too. So it's one of those things, man, to where if I can bend the rules a little bit, I'm going to bend them. And if I can keep bending them a little bit more and get guys to, do what AJ just said, hey, AJ, we might have another 6 to 7 guys in the portal for this next one that what you just said, right? So it's like, it's one of those things to where, like, you got to go out to these big guys. If not, man, especially in the situation Alabama is in right now, like, we have one returning offensive lineman.
Michael Carroll, William Sanders, Jackson Lloyd, young players who are already on the roster
that played.
That you got at least a little bit of experience with. Trent, does the O-line differ from other positions in terms of the ability to come right in to a new team in play? Is that the toughest one from a continuity standpoint, or does it matter right now?
I mean, at this point right now, man, they got to go through this spring and they just, I guess it do differ. Because, you got different sizes and you got different positions. I mean, who got 2 left feet, who don't, who can, get out them hips, who, like, it's a lot to come with it, but at the same time, man, we're at a point right now where we can't be that doggone technical when it comes to, getting guys in. Like, we got to get bodies in there. We got to get bodies in there that we got to get yard dogs in there that don't give a damn where they line up at center, at left guard, at left tackle, right tackle. We need them type of guys. If we can't get those guys, we're going to be in trouble because we can't find them in the recruiting right now. And so in the portal right now, where else do we have to go?
I almost want to look at, I know, and Javen James is just the example right now. I know they're saying he has a 6'11" wingspan. My biggest thing when it comes to tackles is arm length. Is he playing with short arms? Does he have T-Rex arms? So I almost want to go to PFF during our break and see. I also want to see what his grade was on there, but which I don't go by that all the time because of who's grading for them. But this whole thing's interesting, man. Just the way college football is. Wow.
It's
How I know when DJ was there, I knew I was coming to Alabama when I see him crunk dance when he was out there crunk dancing with Mark Ingram, when Chris Brown was out and, stumped the yard. I seen that man, this man,
You going off
AJ, you remember
footwork.
this? The man literally, Mark snatched his heart from him in the middle of the dance. He died. Mark ate his heart. He threw it up. He came back to life, and DJ went to doing all this other stuff and moving. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm running behind him. Come on, man.
For those that don't know what you're talking about, they think they just tuned in and thought you were talking about cannibalism. But no, that was just the dance. That was just the dance that you're talking about. Finding whatever it looks like, AJ, finding the 5 right guys early is going to be huge. I know it was almost like it was patchwork last year. And how much does whoever the new line coach is factor into this? Because it's big. I think we all are in agreement. You got talent at quarterback. You're going to have talent at receiver. You're going to have talent at running back. But if we can't get anything going up front and buy some time for those guys, it's not going to matter. So
100%.
Finding your 5 early, whatever that looks like, is going to be the biggest identifier, right?
Yes. I mean, listen, all the people that watched our show, when we had Coach DeBoer on, I mean, it was one of the things I brought up with him, and I don't know if it made the show or if we kept it off air, but I mean, I brought up the fact that I think it's an issue that they were rotating 7 to 8 guys last year, and it wasn't always because of injury. And I know he gave a political answer of, well, it's injury. It wasn't injury all the time because you had Carroll's mom tweeting out saying that he was healthy and he wasn't playing in the SEC championship, and you're playing Formby and guys that I did not think should be playing right tackle. But you had other holes on that O-line. But that is the biggest brotherhood in all of a college football team is the O-line. And when these guys can't communicate by just hand signals and a look, that's an issue, because anytime we've played on a national championship team or a great team at any level, they can communicate in the middle of a game by just turning your head, giving a look, eyes, pointing, and there has to be no verbal communication whatsoever. And they understand what they're thinking. They understand what they want to happen. There's a continuity there and a rapport amongst each other that is unmatched on the rest of the team. And when you're rotating 7, just say 6, 7, 8 guys, it's impossible to have that. There's no way, because everybody communicates differently. Everybody plays different. I just don't understand it. So hopefully this new O-line coach, whoever it is, comes in and this team can establish, like Chris is saying, can establish the 5 guys, the starting 5 early, and let these guys build that rapport with each other. Let them build that chemistry that is just unmatched, and help make these guys room with each other. I don't care if you got to lock them for all of camp. Say, hey, we're getting a suite at the hotel, and all of you. I don't care if you bring air mattresses or whatever you got to do. You're all staying in the same room, and just make them spend time with each other 24/7. There's got to be a fix to this thing, and I hope they can figure this deal out, because last year was not it.
Here's the thing, and I will start with Trent, then AJ will get you to come in on it, because it is about the quarterback position. Great point that Steve brought up for us. The final 4 quarterbacks remaining in the CFP this season were all transfers. Do you see a guy among this year's transfer QBs who could be the difference between going to the CFP and staying home, but also, would you rather take a quarterback out of high school and develop him or rely on a new transfer every year like Miami, Oregon, Indiana, and others seem to be doing right now?
Yeah, I seen this question last night. Um, it's to me, I would want to recruit one, and I say that because if you can develop a quarterback, like a Keelan or even Mac, right? Um, I think it's better for your program. It's better for your team. These guys come in and they work their tail off.
Like
Not
Ty
just
did.
like Ty did. And a lot more before him.
Right.
You get your time, and you see the good and the bad with them. You see the growth with these kids, and you don't want to miss that because you get a guy that's coming in and transferring in. Any coach can be like, "Oh man, he's great, this and that," and get in there and bomb it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we got guys in the transfer portal that's been in 7 or 8 different schools. No, not calling the kid out, but it's something in there that's not working, right? Something, and it's not just the coaching. I mean, sometimes you got to be like, "Well, hey, he just, it's not what it is for him." And so, but his development through there is like he's been to coach to coach to coach instead of being consistent with one guy and building that relationship with him, and it makes it easier to communicate. It makes it easier to understand this guy, and it makes it easier to know his story. And so, even with all of that, man, it's like you get a guy for a couple months, you don't know how this kid gonna turn out. I don't, it's I guess it's 50-50. It's worked lately, this last year, but I would rather have a guy that's in my system that I recruited, sat down in his guy front room, met his mom, dad, whoever it is, his parents, and got to see where this kid come from and why he's the guy that we want. So if that answered your question, I mean, for me, I would want to go get the freshman and to show my coaching.
Hey, Jay, what about you?
Yeah, I'm in a agreement with Trent. I also try to see it from a coaching side of things as well. From a sense of, I as a coach, you want a guy that's been in the system for a while, that understands your terminology, that you understand how they prepare, how they think. I also think there is a road for success with a transfer guy. How I view that, though, is, has that guy been in a system that equates to what you do? So I can't go out and recruit a guy that's been in a spread offense that has a terminology of one word equals the formation, the play, the protection is just red or blue, right? And all of a sudden you're recruiting him into a pro style offense to where you're going to be under center. You're going to play action. You got 2 and 3 jet. You got scat protection, right? You got H2 and H3. You got Fox 2 and Fox 3. Like all of a sudden now this dude, he's learning Chinese, and he's like, what? And now his processing, his mental units, you're cutting down his mental units, right? Before each and every play. And now this guy, it takes this guy much longer during that process of preparing to even figure out, so he can actually just go out and play. So I think there's a road for success for both sides, but I think it depends on where that guy's coming from, where that player's coming from a terminology standpoint. The biggest issue with all these transfer guys from a quarterback standpoint is, I think you're just hurting. These guys are hurting from a development standpoint because they're coming in. You learn an offense so fast. You're not understanding the ins and outs of this offense. You're not understanding true protections. I mean, you would be surprised by how many NFL quarterbacks now, and it's partially because of college football. But in the NFL, they don't understand protections. They don't understand that are starting in the NFL. I know enough people in enough organizations where they're like, man, we just can't do that with that guy because he doesn't understand protections. Like we leave it on the center to call the protections. Like that's an issue. That's an issue with the quarterback position, and it starts in high school from a bad coaching standpoint. It goes up to college because you got guys transferring, so they try to simplify it, and then when they get to the pros and these teams draft these guys, and they're like, man, he doesn't really understand protection, so then they have to simplify it there as well. I just think from a development standpoint, there's a serious issue with the quarterback position. But yeah, I would much rather recruit a guy from high school and bring him up. The issue you run into that standpoint is, can you keep him? Because if he doesn't play, does he just get pissed off and leave? So, I mean, it's like Trent said, it is 50-50.
Yeah, prime example for me, and not to cut you off, Chris.
You're good.
Jake Coker. Like, prime example. He was at Florida State, came in Alabama, thought he was going to start. And for the guys in that room, it's a slap in your face when you feel like this guy just going to sit there and say, oh, I'm finna come in and work my tail, come beat you out, and I've been somewhere else. Blake stepped up to the doggone plate. But it worked out for Jake because Jake got to develop another year in that system.
Right.
And became a national championship quarterback.
Totally agree. All right, when we come back, we're going to focus, really it involves all of college athletics, but it is a basketball story. It is an Alabama story, and a guy who's able to give a great perspective because he was a Bama player, he was a Bama coach, and now he's back living on the West Coast and able to see it from about 30,000 feet above. But some great insight. Mark Gottfried joining us when we come back on The Dynasty, a podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. College football not feeling as juicy as it once did? Well, let me put you on to something that'll shake up your Saturday and every other day of the week. Because now that Wendy's has crispy chicken tendies and a powerhouse lineup of new sauces, it's time you transferred to the hottest team in the league.
That's right. Team Tendies. Wendy's Tendies. They're making an undeniable rookie season, one for the books.
Enjoy first-string flavor from some five-star recruits. Rep your new favorite team everywhere you go, but make sure to cheer with your mouth closed. Take it to the end zone of savory sauces like honey barbecue, creamy ranch, and the new Wendy's signature sauce to experience a total taste bud blitz of flavor. It's time to join a team that won't upset you with an upset. Taste the phenom that's gracing the gridiron with its juicy, crispy, and tendery tendencies.
Don't fumble the bag. Commit to Team Tendies and call the most delicious plays in the playbook. All right, huddle up. Tendies on three. Tendies on three. 1, 2, 3.
Tendies.
Let's do this.
Wendy's Chicken Tendies, now at participating U.S. Wendy's. Welcome back in for another segment of The Dynasty, a podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts is where you'll find us. TheDynastyBama.com. Wherever you're listening, please rate, review, and share across social media at The Dynasty Bama. Scholar athletes used to be, and I think still are in many cases, a real thing. But the guy that's kind enough to join us here on the podcast was the epitome of that when he came to the University of Alabama back in the 80s. Wound up being the Bryant Scholar Athlete Award for the top student athlete at the University of Alabama. Played in 3 Sweet 16s in a row at the University of Alabama. Then when he coached the Crimson Tide, took Bama to its first Elite 8, won an SEC title, Coach of the Year. Had some great success at NC State as well, and now he's just a media dude like us. But really, really good at it. Mark Gottfried, Coach, always good to see you, my friend.
Always good to see you, Chris. I remember when you were just a little snot-nosed guy coming out of Birmingham Southern over there. You were just coming to Tuscaloosa, so I'm so proud of you, man. So
I,
it's
I
always
appreciate I appreciate the opportunity. Heck, I had to graduate from Montevallo for Birmingham Southern and let me do games. No, but I was doing BSC games, and
that's what it
you
was.
did. You gave me a great opportunity, and always thankful for it, grateful for it. I do want to ask first before we get into some of the current things of today. You are actually a communications major, and you're a natural at this media stuff. You're really, really good at it with your own podcast that you're doing. I want you to tell people about that, but also, um, it seems like you. I know you've remarried, great lady. It seems like life for Mark Gottfried's in a really, really good place now, and I'm happy to see it.
Well, thank you, Chris. And it is. No, I live in Newport Beach, California, and absolutely love it. And I'm a grandfather twice now, so I've got 2 little grandbabies. But no, life is good. I've had the opportunity to go speak all around the country. I've kind of created a little keynote speaking career along with the podcast, but still follow everything in sports. And in my podcast, I've had some amazing guests, and we talk about their journey and how they reached the success level they've had. So anyway, it's been wonderful.
Really, really cool. AJ, what do you got for Coach?
I think it's pretty much plain and simple. I got to understand this whole situation with Alabama, and not just Charles, but the whole deal with the NCAA and allowing these players to enter the draft. It doesn't work out for them, and whatever picture they thought it was going to happen for that player, and then they're allowed to come back to college basketball and play college basketball all over again. I just got to understand your thought process on this.
Well, there's a lot to chew on in this one, and the topic is interesting to me, and I'm going to tell you why. So first of all, let me say this to be completely clear. Selfishly, I'm fired up for Charles Bediako and Alabama. Like, I'm pumped. Like, I like the fact that, we've added in a pro. I mean, let's just call it what it is. He's played 46 professional basketball games. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't know where this leads us in the country. I think this is a pivotal case with the judge, with the NCAA, because it can change the landscape forever. I mean, forever. Now, we've watched the NIL and the portal change the landscape. But here's my take, AJ, and I'll give it to you real quick. So when I coached at Alabama, I had some great players: Rod Grizzard, Gerald Wallace, Richard Hendricks, Kennedy Winston. Those guys, all SEC first team guys, and they left early. Now, here's what you have to remember. Back then, guys could not even test the waters. You just had to make a decision, and it was difficult. And so I was on the NABC board, our National Association of Basketball Coaches board, and we all pushed to try to protect the kids, because we're all for the kids. Nobody wants to see a guy make a bad decision and, end up completely out. So what we did was we pushed, and I was a part of it. I was on the committee. We pushed the NCAA to allow kids to put their name in the draft, go to the combine, talk to agents, go work out with teams, get on an airplane and fly to LA and work out for the Lakers, fly to Boston, fly everywhere, and still come back. Once you've gathered all that information, now you come back and say, okay, what's your decision? And we've gone from not allowing players to test the waters to testing the waters. And now we're sitting here looking at a guy who made a decision. He did all those things, and I'm not against him. Trust me. Selfishly, I'm for him. I love the fact that he can play for us. But he was afforded every opportunity, and he went through the process. And at that point, he made a decision that I'm going to forego my eligibility and I'm going to become a pro. And I think there's a lot of things people are missing in the argument. Number one is the European players. People talk about them all the time. European players in the sport of basketball, there's no high school basketball teams. They don't exist. So if you're a young player and you're good, if you were AJ McCarron playing basketball in Europe, you would have signed with a club. That's the only place you have to go play. And so now we take those guys and they say, okay, we're eligible. Those guys are eligible to come to NCAA and play basketball. Okay. And there was a time where those guys had to sit out games and those type of things because they were pros basically coming over. But here's where I would go with this, AJ. Once you've entered college, I don't care if you're from Europe, from the United States, or from your planet Mars. Once you come and start college, at that point, you're part of the system of the NCAA basketball. And trust me, I can't stand the NCAA. I'd like to punch every one of them in the face, but I'm not allowed to. But once you play basketball in college, at that point, it doesn't matter where you're from. You could be from Spain and you could be in your third year at Alabama, give that year up, forego it, go to the pros. And at that point, in my view, that decision was made. And now you have to move on from it. And so, again, selfishly, I'm excited for the kid. I'm excited for Alabama, but it's a tough one for me. I've had guys that weren't afforded the opportunity to go through that whole process, learn everything you can, where you're going to be drafted, who likes you, what are they telling you. My guys couldn't even do that. Now you're saying you could do that, make the decision, go play a month ago in the G League and come back to college. That's a tough one for me. That's a tough one for me to get my arms around.
100%. You know, I you mentioned him, but Kennedy Winston, I remember him. I mean, he's from Mobile, went to Blount High School. I remember watching him play. I think me and my dad were probably the only two white people in the gym at Blount. They were playing Viger. And I still, to this day, remember Kennedy Winston right before halftime throwing an alley-oop off the backboard to himself as time expired, windmill dunk. But, you know, thinking back to his college days and him thinking he was going to be a high draft pick and got some bad advice from somebody and then goes to the draft party and it was here in Mobile and he sat there all night and his name never got called. You know, and watching him, I'm pretty sure he went undrafted. But then I know he played European ball for a long time and still had a long career, but never worked out from the pro standpoint here in the States. And that's the part that like just doesn't make sense to me. Because I think it's a trickle down effect in every possible way if we allow this to happen. Because with the portal, you already have a major issue with getting high school kids recruited, and you start allowing professional athletes that chose, and nowadays you have way more resources than kids did back in the day. And with all the resources you have to find out all the information and everything, and you still make that choice and it doesn't work out in your favor and allowing these, like it's going to be a trickle down effect in every way. And that's the biggest issue I have with it.
Yeah. Here's another part of it that's kind of a tough one for me. And let's keep in mind, let's remember that the NCAA did rule on Charles Bediako, that he was ineligible. So that's, and now we have a judge, bless his heart. I love him. I wish I'd have known him when I was coaching there. I'd have used that judge left and right. He'd been my best friend.
You should have upgraded his tickets.
Where was he when I was coaching, Chris? I needed him.
You didn't get him no flow side seats, man. You got to get him flow side seats.
You know, now we have a judge, which I understand, and you know, it doesn't. I think nationally you have to understand, and I live in California, but even nationally, you know, the fact that the judge is in Tuscaloosa and the judge had donated money to the NIL, whether that's true or not, I don't know, but that one doesn't pass the look test around the country now because it's a local judge. But regardless, you know, there were times, and I will go back to Kennedy Winston. You know, the NCAA made him sit out 14 games his freshman year.
I thought it was first year.
I thought it was awful. You know, he was a high school kid running around, and this guy was kind of paying for his hotel rooms and, you know, the different things. And I thought it was a harsh penalty. Now, I could have went to a judge. We could have got a judge to put a temporary order in place, but I would have gambled that we're going to play an ineligible player. And that later in the year, all those games that we potentially could have won those wins would have been vacated. And so the slippery slope on this one is the NCAA's been getting sued for years. And honestly, quite frankly, usually they lose.
Yeah.
They don't win very many, you know. I have a podcast. I had Tom Crean on the other day that coached at Georgia and Indiana. And I asked him, I said, if you were the commissioner for a day, what would you do of the NCAA? And he said, the first thing I'd do is I'd hire, like OJ did, a dream team of attorneys, because they can't win a suit. They're just, it's pitiful. But what's going to happen, I think, if somehow Charles is allowed to play this whole year, and again, I'm selfishly rooting for him. I hope we go to the Final Four and win it with him. He might be the difference. Who knows? But you're going to have every local judge in every community, in every town, every kid that's ever gone pro. And eventually they're even going to challenge the rule that's within your 5-year window. And at some point, it's like your children, at some point, and Chris was around my kids running around doing the coach, the hey coach, and the TV show. We'd go get donuts every morning, my son Dylan. But at some point, the answer is just no. You can't do that. You just can't do that. It's like we just keep going for the student athletes, which again, I'm all for that. But at some point at the end of the day, the answer is no. You can't do that. And my fear is that you're going to have a local judge in Lexington, you're going to have one in Starkville, you're going to have one in Los Angeles. They're going to be everywhere.
Hell, it's already happening. Trinidad Chambliss, the quarterback for Ole Miss, he filed his lawsuit in I forget what county, but it's basically Oxford. So it's a local circuit judge there. So how do you think that judge who lives there in Oxford is probably an Ole Miss fan, just like this judge was for Alabama? And you think they're going to rule, in favor of the NCAA and not help out Ole Miss? No, like that's my issue with it. Also, like Coach is bringing up, is we're allowing local circuit judges, but and people say, well, the NCAA. No, the NCAA started all of this. They're the ones that started this entire mess. This is the issue I have with them, because if we would have just simplified things to where when we were playing during our day and you got your scholarship check every quarter or whatever it was, I can't even remember, and say it was $2,600, they could have said, hey, NCAA is making enough money. How we'll treat this is true NIL. We'll double, probably triple everybody's scholarship check. Okay, just say they doubled it, and so now you're working with, just say $5,000, and guys would have never said anything. That would have solved so many issues, and then you could have went to true NIL and said, hey, jersey sales or commercials, we're going to make sure you make money off of that. And instead of a Nike jersey costing $80, it could have cost $150. So their profit margin could have stayed up. You would have made a portion of it. There's so many other ways that they could have simplified this thing. And the fact that they've made it the Wild Wild West, and that's why they can't win a lawsuit, because nobody understands any rules anymore.
Yeah, I agree.
My question is, what is the NCAA for right now? Like, because if kids can go in a league and play 47 and like we said, not calling the kid out, because it's good for our hope. It's good for our sake, right? So we love it, but at the same time, don't make it right. Like AJ said on the last episode. But the thing is, like, hell, I'm for to put my name back in there. So like, what are we doing? Like, I mean, like you play games in a professional league, so like, and I don't know how much did it, help, because they still lost. And I know it's gonna have time and stuff like that, but it's like at the same time, it's like, man, what do you do with the NCAA? Do you just get rid of the NCAA?
Boy, you bring up a great point. And here's what's happening, I think, because I think your sentiment, what you're saying, is what most people think. That's the true answer. The NCAA, in my view, they're crumbling before our eyes. They're crumbling. They really are. But here's your problem. They own the NCAA basketball tournament until 2032. They have contracts with CBS and TNT, so they own the tournament. And that is what's holding the NCAA together right now. Outside of that, you're right. I'm not sure we need them. Jerry Tarkanian, the old coach at UNLV, used to say years ago, they'll investigate Kentucky and decide to put Cleveland State on probation. And he was right. They're a mess. They're a complete mess at the NCAA. And here's what if we could roll the clock back a couple years, and AJ, you made a great point. And I coached Ed O'Bannon for 5 years. I was with Ed, and I know Ed O'Bannon. He's the one that started the whole lawsuits with the NIL and went to the Supreme Court, and so I'm intimately involved, and I understand it very well. The NCAA basketball tournament. Think of this, Trent, you and AJ. They make $1.2 billion a year on a 3-week basketball tournament. Just a 3-week tournament. That's not the whole year. That's
crazy.
just March Madness.
That is
$1.2
crazy.
billion, okay? Now, that money then funds every sports championship. So the golf team in Alabama, and Jay Sewell takes them to the national championship, and they all get on a plane and they fly to wherever. That's all paid for by the basketball tournament, period. They pay for all championships. But what, in my view, what should have happened, if they weren't so arrogant, and they were arrogant, okay? This ain't coming. It's not happening to us. We're never going to pay players, blah, 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 blah. You're making $1.2 billion. They could have taken that money and said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to spread that money out amongst all the schools, and we're going to pay the players. When you're a freshman, you make X. When you're a sophomore, then you make X. When you're a junior, you make a little bit more. And everybody's getting paid to play. And basically that would encompass NIL. Therefore, because of that, everybody that's a freshman gets $100,000. Everybody that's a sophomore, now you get 200 or 300, whatever that number is. And they didn't do it. And so what happened is, at that point, it becomes the Wild West, because now we started with NIL, and true NIL is, when you're a prominent athlete like you guys, and all of a sudden I can go out and somebody wants to pay me to do a Coca-Cola ad. All right, we understand that. But NIL is a farce. There is no NIL anymore. This is just pay to play,
Yep.
So they have lost ground in every way possible. The NCAA has. They might be the most unpopular organization in America. I mean, in the court of public opinion, they have no juice, zero.
Yeah.
But the short answer, Trent, is that they own the tournament, and that's what's holding them together right now. And they're holding on to that bad boy like dear life. And they're going to start renegotiating with CBS and TNT quicker than they ever have, because they want to extend that from 2032 to farther. Because at that point, that's the glue that's holding it all together.
I know it's going to get interesting. I know you got to go, but I know a private equity firm that's working with a ton of people that is going to bring in an offer to purchase football and basketball rights from the NCAA. And I think this thing separates before 2030 or by 2030. To be honest with you, if the money they're talking about offering up and that they've raised so far, I think that's the only way this whole thing gets back on track and survives.
Well, what's crazy, what Coach just said, like 1.8 billion, 1.3 billion,
1.2 billion
in March, like that is crazy. So I
3
get
weeks.
it now. Yeah, 3 weeks, like that. They better try to hold on for dear life.
And
Think about
remember,
that. That is a lot of money for 3 weeks.
Yeah, and
Like,
remember
that's
this.
lifetime.
Remember
great,
this.
great.
They've been making that for a while.
Yeah,
They
that's
ain't
like,
just-
what kind of
they-
offer they're going to get to be like, I'll change my mind. All right, y'all can get it.
Well,
Like, it got to be
here's
so
what has to
crazy.
happen, though, AJ, and I agree with you. I think that there's going to be all kind of those type situations with private equity. But you have to make sure that commissioners of the SEC, the Big 10, the Big 12, you've got prominent athletic directors that are powerful. They're pretty strong around the country. Those guys got to get on board, I think. And if that happens, because football doesn't need them.
Right.
We don't need you. You could go away tomorrow and they don't miss a beat in football. In basketball, you still have that tournament, and everybody wants to participate in it. And you can't, it has to be a collective, decision, because it would be hard for somebody individually just to step up and say, hey, it's time to break away. That's a bigger, but the answer probably is private equity. It'll be something interesting, but in my view, we're watching the NCAA crumble
Oh,
slowly
100%.
right in front of our eyes.
Well, hopefully by then we can get everything settled. If not, we're going to bring you and Farmer and McKee back in for next weekend for a possession.
Hey, Chris, I'm trying to get loose to see if I can come back and play. I might have a year left.
You're trying to get loose because you're trying to go win that next pickleball match. You're probably one of the best in your age group right now out there in Cali. Coach, always great to see you, Mark. Appreciate you, and you're generous with your time. Thanks so much for being on with us. Tell us the podcast name again so our listeners and viewers can check yours out because it's really, really good.
Coach Mark Gottfried Show, but also tell people that I got a website, just coachmarkgottfried.com, and it's all there. You can see all my guests. All of them are on there. They're on Spotify, Google, all those things, but I'm having a ball with it. So
glad you are. Thanks for the
awesome
time. Coach Mark Gottfried joining us here on the Dynasty, a podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Thanks to Mark Gottfried again for joining us on the Dynasty, a podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Be sure to check out new episodes on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. TheDynastyBama.com is the hub, and also at The Dynasty Bama is where you can check us out to rate us across social media. Guys, in this final segment today, let's talk about the announcement that the CFP is going to stay at 12 teams, at least for another year. There are some changes, though. Auto bids are going to go to each Power 4 champion, regardless of their ranking. And by the way, Notre Dame guaranteed an at-large bid if they are ranked in the top 12 of the CFP poll. Let's just start there first, because really, if the system had been in place this season, Duke and Notre Dame would have been in. Miami and James Madison would have been left out. So, Trent, give me some initial thoughts on the fact that it's staying at 12 for another year.
I like the fact that it's staying at 12, but the fact that Notre Dame is still doing the same thing that got them not in the doggone championship last year or in the playoffs last year, and like everybody playing field is different, man, and they just made it different again. The same, the same and the different again the same way, right? Because they don't have the same. They don't have a conference championship. They just got to be in the top 10. Like, that don't make sense, man. Yeah. Like, it don't. Like, you can't sit up there and go play a couple of teams in the ACC and be like, hey, we should be national champion. And then when you lose to the team that you supposedly so-called beat, to sit there and say that, oh, I need to be in the playoff system, you lose to them. So, like, what? Man, it's a show. And in the words of AJ and Coach Davis, it's a shit show at the end of the day. And it's just one of those things to where, like, man, you hurting these programs and these conferences that actually got to go through a full season of conference play and rival games that actually mean something to them. And they're going to go all out. And you got teams that's independent that don't have to. And there's no knock on, the head coach at, or Notre Dame, because I love him to death, man. He's done a great job. But at the same time, man, listen, y'all got to step up to the plate and get along with these rules like everybody else do, man, because everybody else got these rules and y'all don't. It's crazy, man. So Miami, the national champions, the Miami national championship team, not Miami, but Miami that played in the national championship game would have been in the national championship game this year. That's crazy. And they whooped teams this year.
Mm-hmm. But it's this right here. And that's why Notre Dame still has the pull, because they pull eyeballs to the ratings. And AJ, we know that's what rules the world, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's just I'm glad Trent quoted me. It is an absolute shit show, and everybody's just on a different set of rules. Group of Five's on a different set of rules. Power Four's on a different set of rules. And then now Notre Dame's on a different set of rules. The fact that because of your TV contract, and the money you bring in off of that is the reason that you don't want to join a conference, because you can collect all the money from it. You don't have to share it with anybody. So your rev share could be bigger. And the fact that we sign a contract because we're upset, we're not going to play in a bowl game. And now all of a sudden, the NCAA, the CFP, they bend the knee to help them out and protect poor old Notre Dame, makes college football a laughing stock. I mean, it just is what it is. I hate to say it, but it's such a mess, and I just don't understand it.
So nobody really – go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's almost like they're a club team. Like, when you think about it, like they're not in they don't have the same, you know what I mean? They don't have the same stuff that everybody else have that's playing in a college, in a college football season. Yeah, standard in football season is almost like, because we got this money, we're our own club over here, and y'all can do what y'all do over there. We just got to be ranked in the top 10. That's crazy. Yeah.
So the Big Ten wants to go to 24. The SEC wants to go to 16. Can't come to an agreement. That's why we're sticking with 12 for the short term. I know this sounds crazy, and it probably is. But could you guys see the potential of a true split? And I'm not talking about the major conferences splitting from the NCAA when it comes to football and men's basketball, as we've talked about. I'm talking about a split of the SEC, maybe adding another 10 teams. I'm just throwing a number out. I don't know exactly which 10, but, I'll just throw a couple of examples. Kansas for basketball. West Virginia, basketball, football. Steve, great point that you just put on the chat. Clemson, Miami, Florida State, those ACC, those type, whatever that formula looks like, whatever that additional. But say we go about 10 or 15, you get this thing up to somewhere between 30 and 40. And the South rises again and secedes from the Union and does the thing where they pull away, pulls away from everything else. ABC goes, yeah, it's a pretty good product. We don't want to lose you, and we would love to beat Fox. Can you guys see that happening?
100%. If you're Greg Sankey, why not? Why not go out and just keep adding teams? It's already a round robin from a sense of there's no East and West anymore in the SEC. It's a round robin. So you lock in who you're going to play for that 2-year span, and then in the third year, you go to the competitive balance mindset of, the locked in 3 games that you're going to play each and every year. And if you need to change that, but it's just a round robin, all the other in-conference games every year. So,
and bump back the national championship game, the SEC championship, bump it back and play your bowl games before you get to the SEC title game being the finisher,
right,
rather than the one that leads to the playoffs.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think, listen, I think whatever conference, if Greg Sankey and Tony, how do you say his last name? Commissioner
Petitti,
I think. If Tony Petitti and Greg Sankey can't come to an agreement, if I'm Greg Sankey, I just start adding as many teams as possible. I go out and get North Carolina. I go out and get Miami, Clemson, Florida State, Central Florida, South Florida.
Yep.
I get all those schools, whether it's because South Florida is going to be set up, and it's not being talked about. Maybe we can talk about it next show, but they're being set up from a rev share standpoint better than any other Group of 5 school. because of their boosters backing their rev share. And so that's another powerhouse waiting to happen. But I go out and get Tulane. I might pull a Texas Tech from the
Georgia
Big
Tech.
12, right?
Yeah.
And I get all the schools that the Big 10 can't get, and then some of the schools in the Midwest that they probably could pull, but we could say, hey, and entice them to come be a part of the SEC. You have the upper hand then. They have no choice but to agree with you. Because at what point is enough from adding more teams to this deal? So if the SEC just separates, I promise you, ESPN's going to go wherever the SEC is. It's the most viewership. It's the numbers. It's the money. So, Greg Sankey, you got the upper hand. Pull away from them and watch how this thing unfolds for you.
And your non-revenue sports, Trent, become less costly because you ain't having to travel as far, going all the way across the country on some of these things. You got more close bus trips on some things than you might have otherwise.
I agree. Man, everything y'all both just said, like, I agree with it. So it's one of those things to where it's like, when is he going to pull the trigger for it? And I think it will happen because I know he was pretty hot about, them saying that Alabama wasn't going to be able to be in the playoffs if they was to lose that game. The SEC, what game was this? Oklahoma? No, what game was it?
No,
SEC
Georgia.
championship.
Yeah, the SEC championship
With Georgia.
Yeah, if they was to lose that game. And, it's just one of those things where, like, you got these teams that's beat up on each other all year, and you expect a team like Notre Dame to come in that doesn't play half of the talent these guys play and don't have don't have a championship game, conference game. And, it's just one of those things to where, SEC, they're able to do their own thing. It's the track record of, how many championships that we do have, how big of our ESPN deals is, right? So we do have a hand with that too. Just like how Notre Dame got a hand with, is it Fox?
NBC.
NBC.
Yeah,
they got
NBC.
the hand with them. But it's one of those things to where it's like, man, we're taking football from football. Like, it's so political when it comes to these TVs and the revenue and all this other stuff is like it's getting washed down to where, like, man, sooner or later people ain't gonna want to watch this stuff no more.
Yeah, I agree. Guys, a lot that we've covered today. Thanks to Mark Gottfried for spending some time with us on the podcast. Got a chance to cover a lot. Again, you can go back and find us across social media at The Dynasty Bama. And thedynastybama.com is the hub if you want to go back and find some more pieces of the podcast that you may have missed or all of it. Regardless, hope you'll rate, review, and share, again, across social media at The Dynasty Bama. For our producer, Steve Gorgie, I'm Chris Stewart with A.J. McCarron, Trent Richardson. Have a great week, everybody, and roll tide.